Welcome to this year's second edition of my top 10 throws of the week. For those of you who are new here, let me explain my thought process behind developing this list. And while I do so, you can enjoy some honorable mentions that just missed the cut. I call these videos top 10 throws of the week, but I want you to think of them more as top 10 pass plays by quarterbacks. The pre-snap process matters, the post-snap process matters, and the situation matters. Throws that followed pre-snap coverage recognition or post-snap eye manipulation are going to be evaluated differently from throws that didn't. Throws that happened late in close games or on key third downs are, again, going to be evaluated differently from throws that happened in low leverage situations. Context is key here. I watch the film for these videos on Mondays, so plays from Monday Night Football are unfortunately excluded. If you like what you see today, I would be so grateful if you showed some support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That would go a long way toward making this a season-long series. With that out of the way, I'll get this started with my pick for the number 10 spot, which comes from an instant classic between the Cowboys and the Giants. Dallas has the ball at their own 33-yard line, down 3 points with just 14 seconds left in regulation. It's a desperate situation for the Cowboys offense, but it's also important to keep in mind that Dallas has Brandon Aubrey, who's arguably the best long-distance kicker in league history. So they don't need to take a shot here. They only need about 20 yards to get into Aubrey's range, and they have timeouts. New York deploys a two-high safety shell with all of the coverage defenders lined up way off the ball. They're selling out to prevent a big play. So Dallas attempts to take what New York gives them by calling a concept that tells all four receivers up on the line of scrimmage to break back to the ball at or near their own 45-yard line. This concept, right after the ball is snapped, looks like verticals, and the defenders have to respect that threat. As Dak Prescott drops back to pass, everybody in the secondary bails. But that doesn't include the linebacker, Bobby Okereke. He floats at around the 45-yard line with his eyes on Dak Prescott, preparing to position himself in a throwing window. But Dak is just too quick. He wastes no time in firing this thing into Jake Ferguson over the middle, just outside of Okereke's reach, for a gain of 18 that would allow Brandon Aubrey to kick the game-tying field goal 2 plays later. Look at Dak's anticipation here. This ball is out way before Ferguson breaks, giving no Giants defender any chance to contest. The number 9 spot belongs to Kyler Murray, with a great ball from the end of the first half of Arizona's game against Carolina. The Cardinals face first down from the Carolina 11-yard line with 9 seconds on the game clock and no timeouts. So Murray needs to take a shot at the end zone. Arizona calls an all-go concept from empty, which tells all 5 eligible receivers to run vertical, and the defense plays quarters with 4 deep and 3 underneath. Post-snap, the strong side safety cheats inside, probably because Trey McBride, who's lined up inside, is such a threat in the red zone. But that opens up the seam for Michael Wilson coming from the number 2 spot. From the end zone angle, you can see how perfect the placement of this ball was. Even though it gets logged as an 11-yard touchdown, this was more like a 25-yard throw, and it was put in a place where only Wilson could reach it. For number 8, we'll stick to the same game for a throw that almost sparked an all-time great comeback for Bryce Young and the Panthers. Carolina is facing 4th and 16 from their own 30-yard line, and Arizona shows a soft cover 3 look pre-snap. To attack the soft zone look, the Panthers call a cross-dig combination coming from the strong side of the formation that tells the number 2 to run a deep crossing route and the number 1 to run a dig. This is a great concept for the situation. The dig route is likely to get into a soft spot in Arizona's zone coverage, but it takes forever to develop, especially when the offense needs a minimum of 16 yards. Arizona's pass rush closes in before any of the receivers reach the depth of their breaks. But Young evades the rush, steps up to buy time, and hits Bryce and Tremaine on the dig route between the hook defenders in Arizona's cover 3. This 4th down conversion was followed by a touchdown and an onside kick recovery, but Arizona would ultimately hold on. At number 7, I have another clutch Dak Prescott throw from overtime against the Giants. Dallas faces first down at their own 30-yard line, and New York presents a single high safety shell pre-snap. Dallas sends the tight end, Jake Ferguson, out wide, and a wide corner lines up opposite him, which is a dead giveaway for zone coverage. The zone ID, combined with the single high safety shell, tells Dak that the Giants are almost certainly in cover 3. In response to the cover 3 look, Dak changes the play at the line to a cover 3 beater, which tells both number 1 receivers to run intersecting crossing routes. The concept calls for CeeDee Lamb to run a slightly deeper, more rounded crosser, which should pull the post safety away from the middle of the field, giving George Pickens a one-on-one matchup with a leverage advantage. Post-snap, New York sends a delayed blitz, but with a free runner in his face, Dak sits in the pocket, lets the concept develop, and hits Pickens in the hands to pick up 27 yards and put the Cowboys well within Brandon Aubrey's range for a game-winning field goal. The number 6 spot also belongs to Dak Prescott with this awesome throw from early in the fourth quarter. The Giants present a pre-snap cover 1 look with all 3 corners lined up on the strong side of the formation and a safety lined up opposite the tight end on the weak side. To attack the man-free look, Dallas calls a concept that should look familiar to those of you who watched Patrick Mahomes win his first Super Bowl. This is the concept that Andy Reid called to spark his team's comeback win over the 49ers. It's known as WASP, and it tells the number 1 to run a deep dig route, the number 2 to run a deeper corner route, and the number 3 to run a crossing route. Post-snap, Dak takes a deep drop to allow the concept to develop, then fires to Lamb with great anticipation from the far hash before taking a huge hit. Lamb separates with the ball in the air, and an albeit weak roughing the passer call adds an extra 15 yards to the end of the play. At number 5, I have this laser from Bo Nix against Indianapolis. The Colts present a pre-snap cover 3 look here, and Denver looks to take advantage with mirrored curl-flat concepts on both sides of the formation. Post-snap, Nix wants to target the curl route on the front side of the progression, and he probably could have let this go if he anticipated the break. But by the time he's ready to throw, Zaire Franklin positions himself in the window. As he feels pressure coming up the middle, Nix bails out of the pocket, rolls to his left, and hits Troy Franklin in stride down the sideline for a gain of 42 yards. For number 4, we'll go to Miami for this awesome throw by Drake Maye. The pre-play was cut out from the wide angle here, but New England sent Kayshon Boutte in motion pre-snap, and he was followed, which indicates a man coverage call from the defense. The Patriots go with a verticals concept with a rail route from the running back. Dolphins edge rusher Jalen Phillips gets pressure before the concept can develop, but Drake Maye does a great job of stepping up in the pocket to extend the play without abandoning structure. He then delivers a perfect ball to Ramondre Stevenson coming from the backfield to pick up 55 yards on 3rd down. Now we get to the real heaters, starting with this vintage Aaron Rodgers bomb from early in Pittsburgh's game against Seattle. It's 3rd and 6, and the Seahawks present a man coverage look. In response, the Steelers go with a pick play, designed to force the defensive backs responsible for Jonnu Smith and Calvin Austin to work through traffic. Post-snap, Rodgers first looks to his pre-snap alert, DK Metcalf, on a go route, but the safeties split, so Metcalf is double covered, and Rodgers checks off. He then looks to the rub concept up top, and sees that Calvin Austin gets held by Tariq Woolen. The flag comes out, and Rodgers gets his favorite thing in the world, a free play. He probably does all those psychedelics to chase the dopamine release he gets when that yellow flag flies to indicate a penalty on the defense. Rodgers reaches nirvana as he lofts this beauty to Pat Freiermuth all the way downfield, placed right in his hands for what would have been a huge gain if Freiermuth had held on. At number 2, I have this crazy throw from Cam Ward in Tennessee's game against the Rams. It's 3rd and goal from the 9, which is an extremely difficult place to score from. Tennessee calls a smash concept down at the bottom of your screen with a cross-dig combination coming from the backside. But the route concept doesn't matter much here because none of these receivers had any chance at separating against this quarter's coverage. When the pass rush gets home, Ward still has nowhere to go with the football. He extends the play and rolls right, then finds Alec Amaner moving against the flow of the rollout for a 9-yard touchdown. This play gets logged as a 9-yard touchdown, but according to Next Gen Stats, Ward's pass traveled over 42 yards in the air, a ridiculous fadeaway jump shot for Cam Ward's first career passing touchdown. At number 1, I have Russell Wilson's heat check in a moment of desperation against Dallas. New York is down 4, in need of a touchdown with no timeouts and just 33 seconds on the clock. The Giants go with a wasp concept, somewhat similar to the one I showed you earlier run by their opponent, but this ball was never going to the deep out route that this concept is typically designed to target. Malik Nabers was getting this ball the whole way, no matter what, but Russ had to manipulate the weak side safety, Donovan Wilson, in order to get Nabers free. Dallas is in quarters, so the wide corner responsible for Nabers, Kaiir Elam, is playing like he has inside help, which he does, from that weak side safety. Upon receiving the snap, Russ first looks to Nabers, which causes Donovan Wilson to bail, providing Elam with that inside help. But then Russ shoots his eyes to Wan'Dale Robinson running the deep out on the opposite side. That gets Donovan Wilson to hesitate just enough for Nabers to stack the double coverage. Russ lets the moonball fly, and Nabers tracks it down to make this a 48-yard touchdown. Before this ball was snapped, ESPN's win probability model gave New York just a 13% chance to win this game. After the touchdown, their win probability jumped to over 92%. If not for some MVP level quarterbacking from Dak Prescott on the plays that followed, this would have been an all-time great game-winning touchdown. But that's all I've got for today. I'll be back with one of these next week, so until then, take care.